So what I've got here is some braided leader, which is supple, some shrink tube, a size 6 hook, a bait screw, scissors and a couple of pulley tools. First of all, I take the leader, pull off probably about 12 inches. I'll leave the leader attached to the spool at this point. I'll then thread the leader through the back of the hook, through the eye. This is just so that the line is kept in place. It makes it easier while I'm actually wrapping the line around the hook. So yeah, fold your loop into the line, and then you want to wrap this round 5 or 6 times whilst keeping it tight. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Push the line back through the eye of the hook and then pull this tight. Pull it as tight as you can at this point. And then what I do here is I then line it so that the line that's heading back to the spool is parallel with the back of the hook, and that the knot is in line with where the barb was. You want to keep this as tight as possible because it just keeps the knot in place when you're casting. Snip off any excess on your tag end. And then at this point you want to cut it off the spool. I usually leave 11 or 12 inches. I just find it makes it easier for me to tie the knot at the end. Now you want to be threading your bait screw onto the line down to the hook. You can use a hook ring for this. Depends on what you're fishing on. I'm just going to be fishing on boilies, so the screw's ideal. If I was using something like luncheon meat or a pellet or sweet corn, I'd go for an eye and use floss. Now it's just a quick knotless knot, so you thread the line back through the eye, through the back of the eye, and then wrap it round 5 or 6 times. Making sure that you've still got your line in parallel with the back of your hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then thread it back through the back of the eye again. I'm all fingers and thumbs here. And then just knit that up tight there. Try to keep everything as neat and tidy as you can as you go in. Then the next step is to put either a kicker or some shrink tube onto the hook. I tend to use shrink tube for this. I just find it's easier to use, to thread it over, and sometimes I find a kicker can push your line and your knots and just make it a bit untidy. So yeah, I've got a bit of shrink tube there as well on there. I'd say that's about 5mm. Fits just over the back of the knotless knot. Now you want to do a quick figure of 8 loop here, knot, and then what I've done is I've measured this rig to 4.5 inches because I'm going to be using it for PVA bags. So yeah, pull that through there like that, wet the knot, and then pull it all tight with your pulley tools. You don't want to pull too hard here, but just make sure you put a constant pressure on it, just to pull everything in tight. Now just go over and cut off any tag ends. And here's the finished rig. This is just how I prefer to fish when I'm using the PVA bags. I've got a wafter on there. This will just sit nicely on top of the bait. And as you can see there, it pulls in quite nicely as well. The angle's quite nice on that hook. Thank you for watching, everyone.